So I had this idea. I believe that Rob Zombie's The Munsters should not have been what he did. I know he was going for, hey, let me do it the way I think The Munsters originally was. PG, family friendly, didn't work. Here's what he should have done. He should have done what his critics were afraid he was going to do. Because I remember when he announced, or not him personally, but when it was announced, a lot of his critics were worried that it was going to be this gruesome, gory, schlocky horror slasher film. Oh, he is going to make them out to be savage killers. They're going to have redneck trailer park accents, and it's going to be all kinds of profanity. And that's what he should have done. I think he should have done what this new Poonaverse is doing with Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, and all that. I think he should have done that. Yeah, here's what I would recommend. I think what he should have done, he should have just stuck to what he usually does. The movie should have been Grandpa, the Count, is a serial killer, right? And then you've got Herman, who meets Lily, and do the love story, right? In fact, you can start off, make it kind of look like, oh, this is a love story, and then just throw the whole audience off. Well, this would kind of be the selling point, but you get what I mean. Start off with a love story. Then he has to meet the father. So he meets Grandpa, which I understand he's not Grandpa yet because he's still the Count in the storyline. But meets him and then finds out he's a serial killer, and he can and so Herman is like absolutely traumatized by this, and then Lily's like, oh, just go along. This is how we bond as a family. And then eventually Herman just so Grandpa's like cussing up a storm, fuck shit, Rob Zombie dialogue, fuck these motherfuckers, makes a bunch of very dark humor jokes. And then finally Herman snaps, goes, fuck it. And then he helps them chop somebody's head off, buries them, and all this stuff. And then there can be this whole elaborate story that Grandpa gives of why he does this. And it could be the neighbors. It could, so Rob could still, since he seems to really like writing characters that are trailer park, redneck, chicken fucking kind of people, he could still do that. And then that would be so there could be an elaborate story of why maybe Grandpa is just, I don't know. I'm not a screenwriter, but I think he should have done that. Now, yes, that would be an insult to the Munsters, because even though Munsters is like a story, it's, it's definitely a horror story, but it's a horror story for the family, for the kids. So this would be a huge slap in the face. But to me, it would be tried and true Rob Zombie. And I think him stepping out of his lane, it just didn't work. Now, if he had a co-writer, which I wish he would do, as much as of a defender as I am of Rob Zombie films, I do agree his writing is that's his biggest flaw. And I can kind of get that he wants to do the Quentin Tarantino thing. However, I'll tell you guys a little gem, and not many people talk about this. Tarantino did have ghostwriters. As a matter of fact, just to put this out there, and I'll go more in depth with this in another video, but there was a co-writer with Pulp Fiction, and it's I can't think of his name off the top of my head, but I'll do a more elaborate video later down the line. I'll talk about this, but it was a studio that said, hey, I think marketing-wise it needs to be written and directed by Quentin Tarantino, a Tarantino film. And they just felt like that's going to sell him as a filmmaker more. So his co-writer agreed to basically go be a ghostwriter. and he's somewhere in the credits. They kind of hide him a little bit. I'll go. But anyway, so if Rob Zombie wants to continue to kind of be that, there are little loopholes that the film industry will do. So that way someone is credited for what they did, but not within the marketing. You get what I'm saying? So anyway, no. So anyway, in conclusion, yes, I just think he should have done that. And me growing up on Munsters, and whenever I'm in a horror movie, not a movie, but in a horror mood, but in a wholesome mood, which is rare, I turn on the Munsters. So, but I don't know. I just think it would have worked, and I think it would have been right up his alley. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think.